wanaofanya kazi ya ujenzi katika barabara hii ya Ngong wakati wa tukio hilo wanasimulia zaidi.
Welcome to Murder and Mystery Kenya, where the shadows speak and the truth refuses to stay buried. Every week, we dive into the darkest corners of Kenya's most chilling mysteries. Unsolved murders, political conspiracies, vanishing witnesses, and the powerful secrets they try to hide. If you believe the truth deserves a voice, if you want to see the stories they never wanted told, then subscribe now. This is not just storytelling. This is truth-telling, and the hunt has just begun. Timestamp, 9:37 p.m. Jacob's car slows at a turn. A second vehicle appears in the distance, a white Toyota Probox. No license plate, no lights. Inside the Probox are trained men. Cold, focused, professional. They aren't thugs. They're something else. At exactly 9:41 p.m., the silence is shattered. Pop, pop, pop. Gunshots. 8 in total. All to the upper body. All clean. All fatal. The Mercedes rolls to a stop near Lenana School, engine running, headlights still on. Not a single item is stolen. Not a single witness comes forward. Jacob Juma is dead. But this isn't just the death of a businessman. This is the first page in a bloody chapter of Kenyan history. One soaked in secrets, corruption, betrayal, and a warning that still echoes in the corridors of power. And now, almost a decade later, we ask, who wanted Jacob Juma dead? What did he know? And why? Even today, does his name still inspire fear in the highest offices of the land? This is the story they never wanted you to hear.
Some 3-4 weeks ago, Jacob called me and told me, I have been asked by Raila to discuss something with you because he thought you can handle it better. So can we meet? We met in some social place in Karen. I arrived 5 minutes late at the agreed time and he was there waiting. We sat for more than 1.5 hours. He told me what he wanted me to do, that Raila had advised him. But he went on to tell me much more than that. His life, he said, was in serious danger. He was aware of a plot to eliminate him. He was aware and knew those who had hatched the plot. And he was aware and knew some of the hitmen who had been set out to eliminate him. Public domain. Because if you go to his tweets, you'll find it. If you go to his social wall, you'll find it. I encouraged him and told him, my brother, we live in a country that is so dangerous, a country where those who we pay to protect us are the hitmen. And be careful, believe in God.
Before the bodyguards, before the Mercedes-Benz, before the billion-shilling contracts and the death threats, there was a boy, barefoot, brilliant, stubborn as hell, born in the rolling green hills of western Kenya, near Bungoma County. Jacob Juma wasn't a child of privilege. He wasn't born into a wealthy dynasty or a political legacy. He was born into a struggle, a daily fight for school fees, food, and dignity. His parents were simple people, grounded, honest, and devout. They pushed their son not just to learn, but to question everything. Even then, Jacob was different. He always had a sharp tongue. If the teacher got something wrong, Jacob would correct him and embarrass him. A former classmate once said, By the time he was in upper primary, Jacob had already read economics textbooks meant for university students. He could debate Kenyan politics before he was 15. He could recite national budgets by memory. He was a genius, no question. But he wasn't quiet. That would be his curse and his crown for life. In the early 1990s, Jacob was admitted to Kenya Polytechnic. It was here, in lecture halls and dining halls, that he sharpened the two things that would define him: his intellect and his appetite for power. He studied economics and commerce, but he wasn't content to sit in the back. He was a student leader, a fierce debater, a schemer. Some say even then, he knew how to pull strings in the background. He wasn't just learning about capitalism. He was learning how to master it. He didn't just want to be rich. He wanted to be untouchable. Jacob's first big break came from the mining sector, not because he had experience, but because he had intelligence, connections, and no fear. In the early 2000s, Kenya was opening up oil and mineral blocks to private investors. Most of these were complex, murky deals, where a few elites in Nairobi and foreign investors carved out billions behind closed doors. Jacob Juma forced himself into the room. He founded Arad Supplies and General Contractors, a company that would go on to secure one of the most controversial government contracts of the decade, to supply maize and national cereals and produce board NCPB. The contract was worth SHS, $500 million, but Jacob didn't deliver the maize. The government canceled the deal, and Jacob sued the government, and won. Yes, he won. A high court ruling awarded Jacob's company SHS $577 million, citing unlawful breach of contract. Most people would walk away with the money. Jacob did the opposite. He started talking, loudly, publicly, accusing top government officials of trying to frustrate his business because he refused to pay kickbacks. That's when the war began. By 2013, Jacob Juma had transformed into a household name, especially in political and media circles. Not because he was liked, not even because he was respected, but because he was feared. He had access to documents no journalist could get. He leaked budget irregularities, oil contracts, and even alleged Eurobond corruption long before it became mainstream news. On Twitter, he was ruthless, posting late-night threads exposing state thieves and mafia networks. He named names, cabinet secretaries, PSs, military procurement officers. The elite were terrified of him. He had info that would shake the foundation of this country. If you pissed him off, he'd threaten to release it. Sometimes he did. Anonymous former State House aide. By now, Jacob Juma wasn't just rich. He was political dynamite. He began to align with opposition figures, publicly supporting Raila Odinga and attacking the Jubilee government under Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. Power in Kenya isn't just about what you know. It's about what you can prove and what you can survive after you speak. By 2014, Jacob Juma wasn't just a businessman. He was a walking intelligence vault, a man who carried explosive documents in his briefcase and sometimes under his car seat, just in case he was killed. But he wasn't always this way. There was a time Jacob believed in the system, or at least believed he could beat it, until the mining war changed everything. In 2013, Jacob Juma joined hands with Cortec Mining Kenya Ltd., a firm licensed to extract niobium and rare earth metals in the hills of Mrima, Quail County. These were no ordinary minerals. Niobium is used in aircraft, nuclear reactors, and high-tech military equipment. The site was valued at shillings, $6 trillion, enough to change the course of Kenya's economy. Cortec had already invested hundreds of millions. Jacob Juma, a shareholder and local anchor for the company, was the face of the deal. Then suddenly, everything collapsed. The cabinet secretary for mining, Najib Balala, announced that the license granted to Cortec was revoked, citing procedural irregularities and national interest. We're taking the mine. Find your way out. Jacob Juma didn't take it quietly. He called a press conference, stared into the camera, and declared war. This is theft. State-sponsored theft. We will expose everyone behind this. We have the evidence.
Are we ready? Good. We are revoking all licenses from the 15th of January to date.
We have sunk in Kotek as a company in this exploration works so much money of our company resources. We will not let this threat of revocation be affected.
What the public didn't know was that multiple powerful entities, including alleged Chinese investors, state-connected families, and shadow companies, were all circling the Marima Hills minerals. According to Juma, high-ranking officials wanted kickbacks and equity stakes in Cortec. When he refused, the company's license was revoked. He filed a lawsuit, Cortec Mining Kenya Limited and Others versus Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Mining and Others, that ran for years, reaching the highest courts. In sworn affidavits, Jacob accused the state of deliberately sabotaging foreign investment to pave way for elite-linked shell companies. It wasn't just about mining anymore. It was about exposing how the government eats. From then on, Jacob Juma became the enemy of the elite. He turned every business fight into a public crusade, tweeting legal documents, boardroom minutes, leaked contracts. He had lawyers, journalists, and whistleblowers on speed dial. Remember Arad Supplies and General Contractors, the firm that sued the government over maize delivery? That case continued to haunt corridors of power. In 2004, Arad was awarded a tender to supply 40,000 metric tons of maize to NCPB. When the government delayed issuing letters of credit, Arad terminated the deal and sued. By 2013, a court awarded Arad shillings, $577 million. But instead of payment, Jacob got retaliation. The state claimed the contract was fraudulent. MPs called for investigations. Jacob Juma called it revenge, claiming it was punishment for refusing to pay bribes. Every time I win in court, they try to arrest me. Every time I win, they call it corruption. But it's only corruption when a poor man wins against the state. Juma, during a KTN interview, at night, he turned Twitter into a war zone. He didn't speak in riddles. He called out Uhuru Kenyatta. He called out William Ruto. He accused top CSs and PSs of theft, naming dates and figures. He leaked Eurobond memos, procurement documents, and claimed he had records of secret offshore bank accounts. He didn't just accuse. He provided receipts. DP Ruto called me and threatened my life over exposing Eurobond theft. I record all calls. If I die, he is responsible. It was terrifying, and it was brilliant, because if anything happened to him, the entire country would know who to blame. This was the biggest mystery. How did Jacob Juma get classified documents? Some say he had deep contact inside the National Intelligence Service, NIS. Others say he paid insiders at the Ministry of Finance and Central Bank. One theory claims he hacked servers or hired teams to do so. But the truth? No one knows for sure. What we do know is that he got it first. Leaked Eurobond files, bank transfers, defense procurement reports. He tweeted them before the media even caught wind. He was 10 steps ahead. He was dangerous not because he had a voice, but because he had evidence. Former investigative journalist, anonymous. But there was one more problem. Jacob Juma burned bridges everywhere he went. He had few friends. Even the opposition, the same leaders he seemed to support, kept him at arm's length because Juma's loyalty was not to party, but to the truth as he saw it. He once turned on an opposition MP and accused him of land grabbing. He called out CSs from both Jubilee and ODM governments. To him, no one was innocent, and that made him completely alone. At this point, Jacob Juma was a billionaire, yes, but a billionaire under siege. Business deals frozen, government tenders blacklisted, court cases piling up, enemies in every ministry. He moved with caution, changed cars, used private drivers, never took the same route twice. He even turned down deals worth billions, just to stay clean enough to keep tweeting. But it wasn't enough. He had crossed the invisible line. And now, the system was preparing to erase him. He attended political rallies. He financed court petitions. He was even rumored to be planning a senatorial or gubernatorial bid. And behind the scenes, he was feeding dossiers to both local and international media houses, proof of how government officials looted billions in shady tenders and international loans. He became the ultimate threat. Too rich to buy off, too smart to outwit, too loud to ignore. Jacob Juma was not just a whistleblower. He was an insurgent in a designer suit. Kenyan journalist, 2016. He knew what was coming. He said openly, "They will kill me." He tweeted that Deputy President William Ruto had threatened him. He claimed government vehicles were following him. He told friends to check on him daily. And if anything happened, they should know who did it. But even in the face of death, he didn't stop. He kept exposing secrets, kept naming names, kept climbing, until finally, the system decided to strike back. Jacob Juma's rise was unlike anything Kenya had seen before. From nothing, he built everything and dared to spit in the face of the most powerful men in the country. But what he didn't know, or maybe he did, is that in Kenya, truth is a dangerous business, especially when you're shouting it with receipts. By 2015, Jacob Juma was more than a Twitter crusader. He had transformed into a political landmine, armed with what he claimed were damning documents on Kenya's worst-kept secrets. But these weren't just rants. These were claims that could burn down governments. Juma never forgave the government for revoking the Cortec mining license. He knew something the public didn't. He had insider intel that the rare earth minerals buried under Mrima Hills had attracted the attention of Chinese state-backed investors, Russian geologists, and even U.S. defense-related corporations. He claimed the government revoked the license not for national interest, but to secretly hand over mining rights to a shadowy foreign firm linked to high-ranking officials. They sold the land, sold the minerals, sold the people, all in exchange for campaign money and foreign kickbacks. Jacob Juma, tweet dated March 2015. He uploaded a series of internal memos. Some bore ministry stamps. Others seemed classified. Geological surveys, shipping schedules, contracts signed offshore. But the most shocking claim? That portions of the minerals had already been illegally extracted and moved via container trucks to Mombasa, then shipped to Asia under diplomatic cargo seals. To date, no investigation has ever confirmed or denied this. But Juma insisted it was true, and he named names. In 2015, Kenya had raised $2.75 billion through a Eurobond, but a storm soon followed. A parliamentary committee, opposition leaders, and activists began asking, "Where's the money?" Official responses didn't add up. Treasury claimed the funds were absorbed into the budget. Auditors couldn't trace the flow. Then Jacob Juma stepped in with a series of tweets that would become legendary. Eurobond money was wired to offshore accounts. 2 major ones in Dubai and Singapore. I have the transfer receipts. Jacob Juma, December 2015. He didn't just talk. He posted screenshots, alleged wire transfer slips, bank account numbers, offshore shell companies. He named 2 top central bank officials, claimed they acted on instructions from above, claimed a senior politician was behind the creation of the offshore structures. And in the most explosive tweet of all, "If I die, ask Ruto and the boys at Treasury where Eurobond went. I already gave files to trusted lawyers abroad." That tweet, it changed everything. He wasn't just accusing. He was preparing for assassination. According to sources close to Juma, he was compiling a massive dossier, a digital vault containing everything he knew: mining contracts, Eurobond trail, land grabbing deals, audio recordings of bribe demands, names of foreign nationals and illegal mineral extractions, alleged assassination plots targeting whistleblowers. He had encrypted it, split it across several locations, entrusted pieces to lawyers, friends, and offshore email vaults. He called it my insurance policy, and he believed that once it was public, it would cause such a shockwave, no one would survive politically. They think I'm bluffing, but when I go down, they go down with me. There will be no Kenya left to govern. Private voice note, sent to a confidant just 2 weeks before his death. At this point, Juma had crossed every red line possible. He had accused the sitting deputy president of direct threats, exposed central bank officials, implicated powerful business families in corruption, criticized foreign governments with vested interests in Kenya. He had even accused media houses of being bribed to kill stories. He was out of control. To some, he was a hero. To others, he was a threat to national stability. He received daily death threats. His family pleaded with him to stop, but he couldn't. If I don't speak, who will? If they silence me, then they win. But if I speak, I give the next person courage. Jacob Juma, 2016 interview on NTV. Then came April 2016. Juma tweeted that he'd been informed of a plot to eliminate him. He even described the car that would be used, the route, and the time frame. Everyone laughed. But a few days later, in one of his last tweets, dated May 2nd, 2016, Juma wrote, "Assassination plot on me is alive and kicking. The DP is on my case. The same people they used to eliminate others. But I'm ready." Just 3 days later, Jacob Juma will be found murdered in his Mercedes-Benz, slumped in the driver's seat, riddled with bullets. No valuables stolen. No car parts taken. No struggle reported. It was a clean job. The story of Jacob Juma, and everything he feared had come to pass. If his voice was silenced, then it's up to us to keep asking the questions. Who stood to gain from his death? Why were there so many warnings? Ignored? And just how deep does a rabbit hole go? If you believe in truth, if you're searching for answers, hit that subscribe button now. Tap the notification bell so you don't miss part 2 of this explosive investigation. We're just getting started.